Hello, my name is Redstone Archender. I am the person behind the podcast Starforged, Tabula Rasa, and I thought I'd just take a little bit to explain what is this podcast, what is going on, what you should be expecting, and all that good stuff. So basically, this podcast is an experiment. It is my second ever podcast, the first one being a very conversational podcast, just me and a buddy talking for an hour or so and me editing that down. This is going to be very different. It's an excuse for me to learn a bunch of new skills on audio engineering and all this good stuff. But really, this comes from a want or a need for a short science fiction podcast. I have found a few of them that I really liked, but because they have short episodes, you can just kind of blow through them. And I was left wanting and was complaining to my partner, and her response was, well, if it's not out there, then you need to make it. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. So let's jump back to 2019 in the before times. I had stumbled across a new role-playing system called Ironsworn, which I was looking at newer systems basically because I left grad school and moved away from my gaming group, and I have some friends that are gamers, but they live in a city well over a half-hour drive away. It's really a problem, scheduling issues and everything, and I was looking for something different. I was getting tired of the rules heavy, the crunchiness of some role-playing systems, and I wanted something different, and stumbled across Ironsworn, this tabletop role-playing game that was rules lighter, it's powered by the Apocalypse system, or at least influenced by it heavily. But one of the interesting things about it is it can be played without a game master. It can even be played solo. And that was a new concept to me completely and utterly. I'd heard of people doing I've done one-on-one sessions in Dungeons & Dragons and other tabletop role-playing games, but I'd never played one on my own. That seemed impossible. And Ironsworn is interesting because it has these tools built in. Basically, a big part of this system are these optional oracle tables. So if you're not running the game with someone in charge of it, without a game master, someone making the decisions, at times you may run into a situation where you're like, well, what's going to happen next? And these tables, these wonderful oracle tables, will help you generate ideas on what's happening. If you don't know what's happening, you roll, it gives you some prompts with a little bit of creativity, and these often spark creativity and open up new things to do. And this totally blew my mind. This was a revelation to me, and something that seemed a little silly at first. I love it. And I played this a few times, ended up getting my role-playing group together to do it, which, to be honest, I should have seen this coming. But when you have a group of people that really love the crunchy, nitty-gritty, tactical combat type things, to jump into something that's more storytelling focused, rules light, this didn't go well. And on top of this, to be honest, I've done a lot of this kind of the fantasy, medieval type role-playing, swords and sorcery, and it's gotten a little old. I've been doing this for well over 20 years, and I'm a big sci-fi fan, and it turns out Shawn Tomkin, the creator of Ironsworn, he started working on a sci-fi version of Ironsworn called Ironsworn Starforged. And the idea that a lot of the same mechanics, but put into a farther future, still kind of a grittier setting, like low magic, but with, again, the oracle tables. And I was looking through the book, so I helped do a little bit of playtesting with it, but the playtesting was coming out during a time that I was really busy and just could not really focus on this at all. And then it got pretty much prepped and ready to go, and Shawn put it up on Kickstarter, and I love the system enough that I had to throw some money at it, because Ironsworn, the base book, comes for free on a PDF. Like, he gives it away. It isn't just like, oh, you can find it. He gives it away, and so I was super into the system. After signing up for the Kickstarter, he gave out the preview edition, so a 120-something page book PDF with the basic rules, which are very similar to Ironsworn, but tweaked. In a way, he learned some stuff and actually made some rule changes that I'm a big fan of, that I honestly think would have helped with the gaming group I was in, but a little late, but that's fine. But I'm looking through this PDF, and inside one of the things, so if you're having trouble coming up with a backstory, there's a little oracle table. It's got some options for you, and one of them is that you don't remember your past, which is one of my favorite tropes. So this is things like, if you ever saw the show John Doe on Fox way back, or the Bourne Identity, Dark City. Oh, and the beginning, a bunch of the new novel, Project Hail Mary, has this where a character wakes up, they don't know where they are, who they are, any of this stuff, which is a great way to introduce the reader or the audience into this world, because if the main character doesn't know what's going on, they have to figure that out, they have to discover it. Along the way, they will introduce the audience. So that just kind of hit me, like there's the perfect storm. And to be honest, I had tried to do this identity amnesia trope as tabletop previously, and it didn't work out. So previously I'd asked a couple different of my Game Master friends, they were starting up a game, and I'm like, hey, could I play a character that doesn't know this? And I don't want to know their background. I am absolutely comfortable with discovering this on the fly. We'll figure out like who I was, what I was, whatever. But to be honest, it didn't work too well. That's a lot to put on to a game master who's already trying to run a whole world, and then to put like, oh no, you come up with my backstory, you come up with all that. But I mean, it's a little bit freeing for the GM, because then they can incorporate all of that into the storyline however they want. But I mean, it's a lot to put on somebody. And then because of that, I had written my own scenario, actually for the tabletop role-playing system Rifts, which I'm a big fan of, even though it's a hot mess. The weird rules very much feels like it's still from the late 80s, early 90s. But here's a system where, given all of these oracle tables, there's basically a procedure to generate everything that happens in the world. You don't have to know anything. You can get these prompts and it will create the world around you. There's like a basic setup for even the general setup for the world, but a lot of options in it. Like, hey, like which of these do you prefer? Like you should help define your world. What are your truths before you even start playing in the campaign? You should do this before you probably even make characters. And a lot of these decisions, they actually have, Shawn is amazing, has if you don't want to decide, you can also roll. You can roll and have it decide for you. And basically those came together. I went, well, that's perfect. I will do a solo actual play podcast where I'm gonna record me actually playing this game. I don't know who this character is. I don't know what's going on. We're gonna play and find out. And that is what this is. So I'm trying to make something that I would enjoy listening to, which, fair warning, the first episode's really rough. The second one I'm actually super proud of. Like, I actually listened to it a couple times going, wow, this is something I would listen to on my own if I didn't make it. And I'm hoping to continue that forward. So, but I don't know what's going to happen in the game. I'm really hoping that, session 5, the main character doesn't die, but things can happen. And so you and I are going to go on this journey together. I won't know what's happening. You won't know what's happening. And so I'm going to try to keep the episodes 10 to 15 minutes a piece. And I'm basically doing just mini sessions, and I try to end it off some sort of like a decent little endpoint that maybe cliffhanger or maybe some resolution. Like those are the two things I'm looking for to end it. Yeah, this is purely an experiment. Maybe it'll be terrible. But I hope you like it. I hope you listen along. It will be continually presented ad-free, no ads, no Patreon. I'm doing this because I have time, I have energy. I really want something out there that's fun, it's interesting, and it's not asking you for anything except, if you want to listen, please give it a listen. I would also love to hear any feedback as we go. The format may change a little bit as we go. I'm still figuring it out. I'm learning. Please bear with me. But I mean, if you don't like it, that's totally cool too. Please feel free to leave comments. You can leave the voice comments with the link in the description, or you can email me at starforgedpodcast redstonearchender@gmail.com or redstonearchender@gmail.com. Both are my email accounts. So thanks for listening. I will be putting out a couple more episodes like this, kind of the behind the scenes of what's going on, just because I have done some prep work before this, the world building, where I rolled how this all works. A lot of that's kind of hidden at the moment, so I'm going to do some behind the scenes of how that all goes. Thanks for listening.